incredible day we've had so far, and we're not finished yet. I am truly impressed and inspired with the top 10 presentations, as I know many of you are as well. And I'm proud to be representing TAG and everything that TAG does to promote and foster great companies and people across the state of Georgia. Also, thank you all for your continued support of TAG and its mission to make Georgia a top state for technology. We're on our way, well on our way. Today we've heard from leaders across the country. They've spoken about innovation, creativity, and their passion to be the best in their chosen industry. And now we're honored to have Arthur M. Blank, chairman and owner of the Blank family of businesses and the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation. Mr. Blank's adventure is truly inspiring. While he worked at Handy Dan Home Improvement, he met Bernie Marcus. After both Marcus and Blank were fired in 1978, and I have to tell you, I've spent a good portion of my career in HR. It's almost a little hard to say that, but just to prove the point that sometimes that can be the best thing that ever happens to you, they left and co-founded the Home Depot. And they went on to build it into one of America's great entrepreneurial success stories, and a place where I personally have spent a lot of time and dollars. I'm sure there are many in the room that join me in that too. Then he retired from the Home Depot in 2001 and waited only a year before buying the National Football League's Atlanta Falcons. He has dramatically increased the sales and the net worth of the Falcons from $545 million to its current $1.7 billion valuation. The team is currently riding a streak of 7 consecutive sellout seasons. Go fans, too. He then acquired the rights to bring Major League Soccer team to Atlanta. The soccer team is set to start playing in 2017 in the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which Blank is building to be the home of the Falcons, Atlanta United, and many other large-scale sports and entertainment events. Again, truly inspiring, not to mention fun. Today, we are honoring Mr. Blank with the Captain of Innovation Award in recognition for his business leadership and commitment to excellence through innovation. Please join me in a hearty welcome to the stage for Mr. Arthur Blank and President and CEO of TAG, Mr. Tino Mantella.
So I think those applause were primarily for you.
Well, both of us. The story gets better. The older I get, it sounds better. Thank you.
Well, congratulations. We'll have to help you get this off the stage and bring it over because it's in 2 parts. Yeah. It's I think it's only the second one in 12 years that we've actually given out. Yeah,
wow,
so
that's fabulous. It's beautiful. Thank you.
And I think I speak for everybody in terms of the appreciation we have for you and what you've done for the community.
Thank you.
So I thought I'd start out by really, you announced in December that there was a health issue, cancer. Can you give us all how it's going and how you're doing?
Well, yesterday was 4 weeks ago that I had my surgery, and my fiance's here, Angie, and one of my sons is here, Joshua, and his girlfriend, Frances. So Angie was in the room with me at the hospital for the week, and surgeon came in Friday night and with the pathology report in hand and announced I'm cancer-free. So we were excited about that. You know, dealing with some of the post-surgical transition stuff back to a normal life is a bit of a nuisance, but you know, and it's testing one of my principles, which is patience. I'm not long on that in many ways, so it's teaching me to slow down a little bit and just give things some time, but I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, and one of the things I was reading in December is you also, and I think this is really something that you've done throughout your life, but you wanted to give a message back with this too, and you've talked about the importance of early detection for men.
Yeah, it is. I would say, you know, to all the men you hear this, you know, in terms of PSAs on TV all the time, and just watching the Bay Hill Classic actually this week, and Arnold Palmer, of course, was one of the first ones who had prostate cancer, which is the cancer that I that I had. And you know, it's important to get checkups every year, to get blood tests, to get the physical checkup, et cetera. And in my own case, I was doing that on a regular basis. And so if people would say, well, gee, how come, you know, you developed cancer in such a short period of time? The reality is that my cancer presented itself as fairly aggressive, and that if I wasn't getting those checkups, the cancer would have certainly spread and been more difficult to deal with. So it's important to get it in terms of early detection. It's important to get checkups in terms of staying on top of anything you may have developing in your body. So to all the men folk in the audience here, I would certainly make a strong recommendation to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost a year ago today, a good friend of the technology community passed away, and a good friend of yours, John Imlay. Right. Just talk a little bit about John in terms of what he meant to you, the community, the Falcons.
Well, you know, we could spend an hour or, you know, several days talking about John Imlay. You know, in terms of technology, in many ways, he was the father of technology in Atlanta. Through his company, MSA, probably over 300 CEOs have been moved through that company over time. Lord knows how many he helped fund in their initial stages. Not only fund in terms of capital, but in terms of human capital and wisdom and guidance. And John had whatever time you wanted, needed, he had for you. I've never had a more selfless friend in my life. John never had a bad day. Every day was a good day. Every day was a smile. Every day, even when we had a loss, he found a way to make it into something positive. And if it wasn't for John, who had right of first refusal on the Atlanta Falcons when Rankin Smith passed away, I would not have had the opportunity to buy the Falcons on behalf of our fans. And so it was an incredible relationship, a unique human being, loved really throughout the world. Every place John went, he made friends, and friends for life. About a year ago when we passed away, he had a memorial service at the Georgia Tech Forum, and filled up the entire arena there, and could have filled it up several times over. Probably could have gone over to the football stadium and done the same thing over there. But those people were there because of love for John and his commitment to technology, and many people in this room. So I'm blessed to have known John and think about him often in our own life and in my life.
So switching gears a bit, the Braves chose Cobb.
Right.
And you chose downtown. What were the reasons behind that? And also, I know you're making a major commitment to the West Side, so I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Well, I think the Braves' decision was the Braves' decision, and I think, you know, I would say, and I don't say this in defense of them, I know they worked hard with the city worked hard with them for over a period of 7 years. The last 2 years before the decision was made, they worked very intently at trying to get a deal done downtown for a variety of reasons, many of which I'm not even aware of. They just couldn't make that happen. It's not that they moved to the moon, or, you know, somebody's talking about, you know, to another planet.
Only Cobb County.
It's only 12 miles north of where the stadium was,
and
it's where the county where we are right now. So it's all, when I think of Atlanta, and most people in this room think of Atlanta, I think of the region.
That's true.
And Atlanta is close to 7 million people living in the region today. So they're building a magnificent park just up the road here with a great complex around it, and I'm sure we're looking forward to Braves baseball in the future. For us, we had opportunities to position our stadium in a number of areas throughout Atlanta. And because of the popularity of the NFL and I think our franchise, and as somebody commented earlier, a young lady commented earlier, we've had 7 shutout seasons. We could have moved to some version of Foxborough, way out in the middle of nowhere, and attracted fans. But you know, I felt, and our leadership team felt strongly, and our family felt strongly, is that, you know, Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, is the heart and the hub of the soul of our city and of our region. And even though it probably cost us $200 to $300 million more to build the stadium downtown in a very tough and unique site, it is part of the jewels of downtown. It's not the jewel, it's one of the jewels of downtown, where they have the Georgia Aquarium, or the Children's Museum, or the National Civil and Human Rights Museum, or the World of Coke, and the list goes on and on. Downtown Atlanta today is a vibrant, important part of not only our city and region, but the state. So we're proud to build this unique stadium downtown and be a partner to the changes we see coming on the West Side. The West Side is an area that for probably the last 2 or 3 decades has has gone downhill. We were not interested in a Band-Aid approach. We wanted to see a permanent approach, and we've worked together with many partners, and we'll work together over the next probably 10 to 20 years in making those changes so that in that area, which has probably close to 6,000 folks living in it today, used to have 50 to 60,000 folks living. We wanted to move it back in that direction to where it enjoys the same growth and all of the positive things that are taking place throughout Atlanta.
So this is a TAG event, technology.
Right.
It's all about technology, and I'm excited that you are building what I would say is competitive to be one of the most technology-driven stadiums in the world. We actually have some slides too, so maybe you could talk about the roof and Halo and the other things you're doing.
Well, I want to also thank all the technology associates that are sitting, I think, at one of those tables over there. Just raise your hands. You guys deserve a round of applause. They're really doing all the work. It's a very unique stadium, very unique design. Whether it be the 8 pedals which open up in less than 7 minutes, and the stadium's designed to be an open-air stadium that can close, as opposed to most stadiums that are closed or can close. They're designed to be closed. So the roof is unique. This Halo scoreboard, which you see, which is 360 degrees, it's basically 6 stories high, 63,000 square feet. It's twice the size of the one in Dallas, 4 times the size of the average one in the National Football League. Unique in the world, really. The other things that are unique about this stadium is that the LED lighting inside the stadium will be greater than any stadium throughout the world. The LEED certification, we're seeking a platinum certification, which will be the only professional sports stadium in the United States that will have that LEED certification of that level, platinum. And we're doing everything in terms of sustainability. An example would be is that the water consumption in this stadium, which is twice the size of the Georgia Dome, will be 40% less than the Georgia Dome. So there's a whole variety of things that we're doing to say to the community that we not only care about creating a very exciting place for our fans and our guests, et cetera, to play NFL games, MLS games, to host the college championship, host the NCAA, hopefully host Super Bowl and a variety of other things. But also to do it in a way that makes sense for the planet, makes sense for our citizens as well.
The roof, I guess you guys all picked up, I don't know if you've read that before, but 7 minutes to open and close that.
Right.
Is that the first in the...
Well, yeah, I mean, most of these roofs take, for instance, the league requirements now is that you have to announce several hours before a game if you're going to play with an open or closed roof. And the hour and a half restriction on that is because most of these roofs take an hour and a half to open and close. To do this in 7 minutes is pretty incredible. And the beauty of it is that you can open and close it to different spheres, so that you might open it completely for soccer, you might open it a little bit less for an NFL game, you might open it, close it completely for a concert, depending on the event inside, but you can do it very quickly. And the league rules actually are changing in that regard to give us the ability to open and close the roof actually at halftime of the game, partly because of the technology that we've built into this stadium.
We know Jared, who's with the Falcons.
Right,
and,
right over here.
Technology guys. Jared over there.
Yeah, we let him out of his cage.
He's a great supporter of TAG, and your Falcons community's been getting involved with us, so we appreciate that. Are you guys thinking a lot about the customer experience, and what's that going to be like?
Well, it's, this would be, you're not asking me, if there's one bit of advice that I would offer, though, to all the technologists in the room today, and that is, I think, and our folks have heard me say this many times, that, this is not about technology. It's about solutions for customers, or in our case, guests, customers inside of our PGA business, fans inside of our MBS stadium. It's really about creating the most efficient and the most effective way to enjoy the experience and to be connected to other people. So I always start, throughout my business career, it's 50 years now, start with, what is the customer looking for? In many cases, it's technology driven. In many cases, it's not technology driven. They want, better human connection in terms of who's touching and feeling them, not physically, but emotionally and service-wise in terms of security and food and ticket taking and a variety of things within a building like this. Same thing with our PGA business and really all of our businesses. So I think technology is very important in making you efficient, and how you use that efficiency in terms of either enhancing profitability, creating a tighter umbrella for you to price underneath to be more competitive in the marketplace, a variety of things. But I think you have to start always with the customer, the guest, or the fan in mind.
So moving from the stadium to the field
Right.
in technology, we're seeing, of course, in the industry, everybody's talking about big data and analytics. How much is that changing the game? I would say from scouting to the players making decisions, and also sports safety, the equipment, what's happening there.
I think data, in terms of analytics, I think in professional sports is changing it a lot. It certainly is in the NFL. It has in Major League Baseball. Everybody's read the book Moneyball and seen the movie, et cetera. I know it's being applied in the NBA, and it's being applied in soccer today as well, really internationally and nationally here at Major League Soccer. Having said that, and I think that the scouting, personnel department, coaching departments, all using technology in a much more aggressive way than they ever have before. But at the end of the day, a good part of the decision making is still, looking you in the eyes and saying, do you get it or don't you get it? Do you understand what we're about? Is the chemistry what we want in the locker room? Are you willing to go 150% or 180% on game day? And so all of those things, I think, you are not technology driven, they're human driven. So I think there's a big part of the world, sports is being affected by technology, but you can't displace, I think, the human connection and that gut instinct and that feeling, how to apply that technology and then use it as a basis. The other part of the question.
Sports, like the equipment in sports.
Yeah, well, I think that's critical. In terms of the National Football League, obviously player safety is on the foremost in the mind of the commissioner and really all the owners. And concussions are down close to 40% in the last several years, which we're thrilled with. Having said that, we want to be down to close to zero, as close as it can be given the nature of the sport. So technology is being applied in terms of equipment, in terms of player rules, player engagement, and technology we apply in terms of rules because we can see a variety of things with cameras and technology today and experience things and understand the effects of certain blows differently than we have in the past. So the rules are being changed to affect that, and the folks that are supplying the equipment to protect the players are using heavy degrees of technology and coming up with the best kinds of equipment today in that regard.
So another thing that's impacting football from a customer standpoint is fantasy football. Do you have any thoughts about that, pro or con?
Well, starting
could be a whole
starting in the
conversation
fall. I mean, I have 6 kids. My fiance has 3, so we'll end up with 9 here in the next couple of months between the two of us. And
football team almost.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, but we're very competitive in every area of our lives, including fantasy football. So starting with draft night on fantasy night in our house, we everybody kind of does their own thing, and then during the year we're competing with each other throughout the fall. So the only time we're not is on Sundays when they're supporting the Atlanta Falcons. But other than that, we're competing with each other and trading players and trying to figure out ways to take players off the waiver wire and be more successful. So it's fun.
I think a lot of us get involved with this a little bit. Is you get to know football a lot better because you're actually following a lot more of the players.
Well, the teams that win in fantasy football usually are the owners that actually pay attention to, who's injured, who's not injured, who's playing well, who's not, who are you playing against, how's the player playing, what's he trending, is he trending against, you playing inside, outside, the kind of team you're playing against. I mean, there's a lot of work to it. I mean, it takes, I'm up late at night sometimes, later than I want to be, trading out players to make sure I got a competitive team for the following week so I don't get embarrassed either by my kids or by Angie's kids.
So moving to the retail side, Home Depot started with 2 Metro stores in '79, grew to one of the world's largest, as we all know, retailers. Looking ahead, and I'm assuming you may not be as involved as you used to be, but do you see a lot of disruptions and innovations coming forward in the retail space?
Yeah, it's interesting. If you go back, to 1979, we opened our first 4 stores in '79, all in Atlanta. And there was not a lot of emphasis in terms of technology in our business then. Our business is basically 3 things that drive volume in retail, and that's space and inventory and people. And so our focus was on space and inventory and people. And the application of technology in those areas was really not that great. So a lot of it was done, by the human connection, by how do we manage the people, how do we manage, relationships with our customers and make sure we're buying the right levels of inventory, et cetera. And when we didn't, how do we create the facade that we were, create that wow factor that everybody thought was very important. We did and the customers did. I think over the years, as I became CEO, et cetera, the application of technology, and Danny Branch is here today, works with Jared, and Danny was heavily involved in technology at HD for a long period of time, became much more important. And became more important partly because the customer was demanding it, but mostly during the early years because we wanted to become more efficient at running our business. The effectiveness we felt was with the interaction between the customer and the salesperson or the cashier or the lot engineer, assistant manager, store manager, whatever it may be, but the efficiency in running our business and therefore our ability to operate on a lower cost structure, therefore a lower margin, and create more dominance in the marketplace, a lot of that was driven through technology. After I retired in 2001, I think the company's taken it to a whole nother level. And we talked to one of your partners that were here earlier today that in terms of supply chain has done things that myself or Bernie really never envisioned. And I give that leadership team great credit for taking technology to the next level and enhancing not only the bottom line of the company, but the ability to compete on a more aggressive basis.
So this next question, I know it's a bit hard to compare, but you did build Home Depot into being number one.
Right.
How difficult is it to build what's harder, building the Falcons to be number one or Home Depot?
Well, I would say, quite honestly, probably it was easier doing it with HD. We had a unique formula for the first 2 years. The company was in business. We were not public, so our competitors would come into our stores and they would look at us and say, well, these crazy nuts are going to go broke anyway. The stores are too big, the prices are too low, there's too much inventory. And when we went public in '81, then everybody realized, this is for real. But most of the competitors we faced across the country were convinced that if they just kept doing what they were doing, they would be protected. Their customers were really looking for a better choice. And so we were able to pretty much roll orange, if you will, throughout the United States and Canada and South America at that time, and Mexico. In the NFL is structured to keep the germ of hope alive in the breast of every American citizen. So
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of push to the middle, and you have to find ways to unsettle the playing field, and you do that through a better personnel department, a better coaching department, better facilities, creating unique culture and values. I think with players, drafting better, you got to have an owner that's committed, that will spend up to the cap and find ways to be as aggressive as you can to do that. You have to have a great head coach. You got to have a winning quarterback. And I think in our case, you judge about the owner, but I would say in terms of our head coach today and the quarterback and a lot of other players, we've got the great nucleus, I think, of a very, very good team. So I'm happy about where we are. We are competing for Super Bowl in 2019 and 20. The vote will be in May. In Charlotte, I have an owners meeting starting on Sunday, but preparing for that in May. And our aspiration is to play in the Super Bowl before 19. But if we don't get it before 19, it'll be the first time in the 100-year history of the NFL that a team would have hosted and played in the Super Bowl in its own city. So we would love to see that happen for us as well.
Great. Stacie mentioned when she was introducing you that you were fired from Handy Dan in I guess when you were 25?
I was actually 37 at the
Oh, okay.
time, I think, yeah, a long time ago.
I think a lot of us have lost jobs over
Yeah.
the years. What did it do after that to change maybe your trajectory or what you thought?
Well, I think, we were running the most successful chain of conventional home improvement center companies in the United States at that time, and it was really kind of a political warfare between primarily my partner, Bernie, and then the chairman CEO of the parent company. We were 20% owned by the public, which gave us certain protection, but the ego demands of this other gentleman were so huge that he and Bernie just couldn't exist in the same hotel together, forget about the same room together. So, we ended up losing because they had the votes and we got fired in '78. I think we both had unique opportunities to do a variety of things in corporate America and decided then that if we had our lives to live over again, what could we do if we wanted to stay in the same ministry. We were blessed having some folks that had done well with the public side of our company at that time, and they said, look, we'll support you financially. And we said if we ever had to compete with a large, no frills, down market, big scale store, we couldn't do it. We weren't doing it. Nobody was in the country then. So hence we developed a model for the Home Depot. And that gave us a chance to do something that was unique and different. And neither one of us lacked confidence. We didn't have any money between the two of us personally. I had to borrow money to buy my first home in Atlanta, and as did he. But we both felt that we could, succeed, and with this unique model, and so we followed it.
I think we have time for one more question, and I wanted to make sure I got to this question because I was told that last year in front of a crowd in Athens, you said Atlanta has to earn the right to keep companies here and attract companies here.